Good morning Year 4 and welcome to Thursday's Maths. Pause the video and have a go at today's Fluent in 5. So here are the answers to today's questions. You were asked to use written methods for these two questions. So hopefully you were able to work out 75 divided by 5. We start off with the tens, sharing 7 tens equally amongst 5 groups. I use up 5 of those because I have 1 in each group. And I have 2 tens left over because that does not share equally into 5 groups. So I regroup those 2 tens for 21s and add them to the 5 ones that I have. And then I share 25 ones equally amongst 5 groups. I know that 25 shared amongst 5 is 5. And I'll have no remainder. So the answer is 15. And then you're asked to use a written method for addition. 439 plus 342. 2 ones plus 9 ones is 11 ones, which is the same as 1 10 and 1 1. Adding 3 tens, 4 tens and 1 10 is 8 tens. And 400s plus 300s is 700s. And then these two, hopefully you were able to work them out mentally. 604 take away 100 is 504. 56 divided by 8 is 7. So on to today's maths. We are continuing with finding equivalent fractions. However, today we are going to use division to help us work out an equivalent fraction. So yesterday, obviously, we were multiplying the numerator and the denominator by the same factor, by the same number, to find equivalent fractions. Now, here I have started to do a diagram, and obviously if you're using fraction strips or you're drawing, you must make sure that they are more accurate than this. However, I have divided this fraction strip into 6/12. And then I'd like you to try drawing other fraction strips if it helps you, and dividing that into halves, quarters, sixths, to see how many other equivalent fractions you can make with 6/12. So this time we are dividing to find equivalent fractions. I know that 6 and 12 have a common factor. They both appear in the same times table. They both appear in the 2 times table. So I know that I can divide 6 by 2, the numerator by 2, and I will have 3. And if I divide the denominator of 12 by 2, that will give me 6. So 6/12 is equivalent to 3/6. I can try it with 3 because I know that 6 and 12 are both in the 3 times table. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So the same rule applies. We still divide by the same number. So when we were finding equivalent fractions yesterday, we were multiplying to find equivalent fractions. This time we are making them simpler. So instead of having 12 parts and 6 of them shaded, we are trying to find less parts and less of them shaded, but still finding the equivalent. So, for example, imagining that these two strips are the same size, here is my 6/12. I'm going to shade in the same amount, but I've only divided it into quarters this time, and I can see that 2 quarters are shaded. So here we have 6/12 equals 2 quarters. Both parts of the fraction have been divided by 3. So it simplifies to 2 quarters. Just means that there are less parts in the whole, but because both wholes are the same, we can find equivalent fractions. Now, is 2 quarters the simplest equivalent fraction of 6/12? So here we knew that dividing by 2, because they're both in the 2 times table, 6 and 12 are both in the 2 times table, would give us 3/6. Then we also recognise that 6 and 12 are both in the 3 times table. Is there any other times table that they're both 6 and 12 are in, that we could simplify that further? So we know that 6 and 12 are both in the 6 times table. So if I divide the numerator by 6, my numerator will become 1. And if I divide my denominator by 6, 12 divided by 6, it becomes 2. So you can see that 6/12 is also equal to 1/2. And this is the simplest fraction that we can make. And again, we've got the same size of fraction strip, split into 2 parts. One part is shaded, and again, it's the same size as the 6/12, as the 2/4, as 1/2. So this is the simplest fraction that we can have because we've only had to split it into 2 parts and one of them is shaded. So whenever you're asked a question about finding a fraction in its simplest form, this is how you will do it. You will divide. So let's have a go at working out the answers to this. Pause the video in a second. You will need to have a look at the denominator first of all in this question, work out what it's been divided by, then do the same to the numerator and vice versa here. And then I'd like you to find the simplest equivalent fractions of these fractions. Pause the video and we'll go through that in a second. So hopefully you recognise that 12 had been divided by 2 to make 6, therefore 4 divided by 2 is 2. 4 had been divided by 4 to simplify it to 1, therefore we need to divide 12 by 4, remember the same every time, and that gives us 3. So the simplest equivalent fraction of 4/12 is 1/3. Now you have to find the simplest equivalent fractions of these 4 fractions. So again, what you need to do is look at the numerator and the denominator. Think about what times tables they're both in so that you can divide both sides by that factor. Now we did 6/12 over the page, so we already knew the simplest was 1/2. 3/12. So straight away I know that 12 and 3 are in the 4 times table. Sorry, in the 3 times table, I beg your pardon. So I know that if I divide 12 by 3, my denominator will become 4. And if I divide my numerator of 3 by 3, it will become 1. So hopefully you managed that okay. And we have more equivalent fractions using the shortcut method division for you to work through today. So that's practice 4, pages 83 and 84 in your practice book if you're in school. So work your way through those. You've been given the dividing factors here, and here you need to work out what the numerator has been divided by to work out the denominator and vice versa. Some more examples of that for you to complete. And then finally, if you finish that, there's an additional simplifying fractions activity here. So pause the video, make sure that you go through, have a good go at all of the answers before you check your answers against the following slides. And if you did make any mistakes, then go back over them, maybe listen to the video again, or just check your answers against them, and hopefully when you're purple polishing, you might be able to see where you've gone wrong. Pause the video then, and then you can unpause it to check your answers. Good luck. So here are the answers for today's work. These ones you were already given the factor that you needed to divide by. Here you had to work out. So I know that 6 divided by 6 is 1. Therefore I need to divide 12 by 6, which is 2. Here I've got the denominator, and I know that 9 divided by 3 is 3. Therefore 6 divided by 3 is 2. Here I worked out 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4, so that's dividing by 2. And 8/10 is equal to 4/5. So this one, it was written the other way around, but it's exactly the same way. I know that 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. So then what divided by 5? So I needed to work, what divided by 2 is equal to 5? I know then that I can multiply those two to find that out. So again, you were to find the fractions in the simplest form. So that requires you to try and work out what times tables each part of the fraction is in, and then you can work out what to divide by. So 4 and 12 are both in the 3 times table and the 4 times table, sorry. So I know that 4 divided by 4 is 1, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So pause the video, check your answers, and if you've got any problems, you can contact us via Teams. And I'll see you tomorrow.